Oh, Nell.
Boost Mobile is now sending experts nationwide to deliver and set up customers' new phones.
Wait, we're going on tour?
We're delivering and setting up customers' phones. It's not a tour.
Not with that attitude.
Introducing Store to Door. Switch and get a new device with expert setup and delivery.
Delivery available for select devices purchased at boostmobile.com.
This episode contains stories that include racism and homophobia.
This is
Queer Roots and Roots.
Stories of where we come from
And how we move in the world today.
We are a group of people living in London.
We're gay or queer, and we're mostly men.
And some non-binary people who were raised as men.
We're all either migrants to the UK and are racialised as being from an ethnic minority.
Ill. That's just a crappier way of saying global majority.
We all have different experiences and perspectives on the world. Some of us are racialized as black or brown.
Some as white.
Many of us have experienced racism and xenophobia.
Some of us are gay and some queer.
Some of us moved to the UK by ourselves.
And some are from an ancestral line that includes migrants.
We all,
every single one of us,
knows what it's like to be seen as other.
That is what brings us together.
We're part of a community project run by the Love Tank,
a not-for-profit community interest company that promotes health and well-being of underserved communities through education, capacity building, and research.
We wanted to make this podcast to tell our stories of crossing borders. Borders of nation-states, of gender and sexuality.
As a collective. We don't have a boss or a Beyonce, so every episode of Queer Roots and Roots has a different host and a different set of voices from our group.
Our promise to you is that our podcast is gorgeous, fierce, super gay,
and revolutionary.
Yo, my name is Chase. I'm a 28-year-old black gay brother from London. My pronouns are he, him, king. And for my episode of Queer Roots and Roots, I've chosen to focus on one of my favourite things, love. In this episode, we have stories about the love of queer icons, the love of drag and how it can create community, and navigating love in London. I hope you get something from it. So, a bit about me. I'm a North London boy. I'm a Pisces with a romantic fish of the zodiac, and I'm currently single. I'm not on social media, but you can drop an email if you'd like to make an application. I grew up in London with my mum and my brother. When I reflect on it, my mum was definitely the first source of love in my life. She was and still is very affectionate, both verbally and physically, always hyping us up, always telling us we could. I definitely went through the teenage phase and found her affection jarring, but ultimately I'm grateful. It's definitely informed how I show love, so big up to my mum. My mum didn't always get it right though. When I was 10, my mum decided to move us to Grenada. It's our heritage and where our grandparents are from, and we had been out there most summers, but going on holiday and living are so different. I guess her thinking was that she thought it would be a good growth experience for us, but I disagreed. I think we're encouraged to love where we come from, but truthfully, I hated living in Grenada. For me, London was home. I miss my cousins, I miss my friends. I felt like I was lacking in the love that raised me. I went to an all-boys Catholic secondary school in Grenada. On paper, being a gay black boy, surrounded by other black boys, in the sun, all of us being sweaty, sounds like a dream, right? Nah, far from. I feel like I was made to feel different because I was an English boy. And I think because I didn't want to be in Grenada, I didn't allow myself to fully immerse in the experience. It didn't help that some of my teachers were openly homophobic, just at the time when I was realising that I was gay. I knew that if I was back home in London, there'd be a certain level of protection that I didn't have in Grenada. But I did it. For 7 years. Big up to me. The older I get, I try to take something of value from most experiences. That's how we grow, right? I feel like my biggest lesson from Grenada was that I should try hard to find something to love about the present. I spent so much time longing to come home, I didn't allow myself to enjoy even the minor aspects of growing up in the Caribbean. Like, my regular escape while I was out there was one of the most beautiful beaches in the world. That's a blessing. That's love. I'm really lucky to have had that. Coming back to London by myself at 17 was hard. I even had to borrow the money for my flight, but I was so determined. I feel like I could defo write the guidebook, How to Navigate London as a 17-year-old black gay boy on his own. The first chapter would defo just be about sex. Reflecting on growing up queer, I've chosen a story from Roberto. You might have heard him hosting a previous episode of Queer Roots and Roots.
My name is Roberto Tobar. My pronouns are he, him. I'm 36, and I am a fabulous flamboyant faggot.
Roberto is about to take us to his childhood and how looking up at a man who shows you a way to be himself is empowering.
Growing up in Mexico City, well, you have to have in mind that Mexico City is a very Catholic and quite a macho society, even though there is a lot of influence of queer people. And there's sometimes something celebratory about that, still very influenced by the church. But there was one character that challenged all of that. This singer, songwriter, and genius called Juan Gabriel. I am an 80s gay. I was born in 1986. So, yeah, I think my first musical references are like late 80s, early 90s. Yeah, so Juanga in those years were was at like the peak of his career. Every summer, my brother, my sister, and I will go to my aunt, Chata, and her partner, Rosita. Sorry, just like I never mentioned my tia before, so that was like, so yeah, every summer, my tia, Chata, will take us to her summer house with Rosita, her partner. Yeah, it's in Cuautla, in Morelos, which is like 2-hour drive from Mexico City, and we will just like hang out there, like sing songs, eat really nice food. We will have freshly squeezed orange juice that actually the oranges were from the tree at the house. So that was really nice, really fresh. We will have like, I don't know, like picaditas, this like tortilla with cheese and salsa. And we will go swimming. And during the night, like actually, when the sun started coming down, like my aunt and her friends will get the tequila and like get a guitar and start singing all these characters. Actually, my aunt introduced a lot of musical characters, very important characters in my life, which is like including Juan Gabriel, Ana Gabriel, Luis Miguel, and Vicente Fernandez. The last two are straight, and the first two are LGBT members. And yeah, and just like obviously the tequila made effect, and they were like laughing, crying, and like obviously I remember this as like, whoa, there's some serious effect in these songs. You know, they were really feeling it. So yeah, I think that like stayed in my head that like those feelings and those emotions that they were portraying in those songs. With the context of my lesbian aunt, this one makes a lot of sense because it's called Mujeres Divinas of Vicente Fernandez, which is divine women. Obviously, in the beginning, like years when I was a kid, I didn't understand like my aunt singing this song with like such passion. And also, Yo no nací para amar, which is I wasn't born to love of Juan Gabriel, which is a really tragic song and really dramatic and over the top. You know, when people say like, "Oh, don't be so extra." Well, Juanga didn't rule by that. like he will wear like these super sparkly sequence jackets, standing next to a group of mariachis, like super macho looking, but he was just, yeah, over the top, like moving like the shoulders, and I don't know, almost like a little bit of influence of Liza Minnelli. It's like, yeah, he was extra. That was his thing, like being extra with drama and with happiness. But yes, this song is about I wasn't born to love. And I guess that was another thing that unconsciously I related to, like this feeling of not belonging or like unlovable, because of I knew there was something different about me, and also I knew there was something different about Juanga, and that I didn't really understand back then. Actually, No Tengo Dinero is the song that Juanga started his career with in 1971, and it was No tengo dinero ni nada que dar, lo único que tengo es amor para dar, which is I don't have any money. The only thing I have is love to give, which is really positive. And yeah, that song, like I remember like thinking about it because it was like kind of like, oh, is he singing to? Is he one of us? Like working class people, like I only have, which is like kind of like romantic if you want to call it like that. But yeah, it's not talking about what you own, but that you just have love to give. Cheesy, but yeah, relatable. Oh my God. If I look at my younger self back then, listening to those songs of Juanga, little Roberto looks happy, very cute. Yeah, I guess protected and comfortable because I was with my aunt. Juanga's career was doing really good. But in 1985, a former member of staff published a book called Juan Gabriel y Yo, which is Juan Gabriel and I, revealing intimate details of a relationship between the two of them, which you will think that this will destroy a career. And also it was the 80s, like there was the AIDS epidemic, and like gay people didn't have the best PR back then. So yes, you will think that his career was over, but actually I think there was a lot to destroy. If you want to, like, it was like a big figure to destroy. So he stayed. In 2003, Juan Gabriel was confronted by a reporter, and he asked if he was gay. To what Juanga replied, it wasn't breaking news really. Like everyone knew that Juanga was gay. But even though after that, you could go to like, I don't know, like really Catholic or homophobic households, and Juan Gabriel was playing. And when Juanga sings, you shut up. So that's a rule in Mexico, even though if you're a homophobic granny. Juanga has a lot of moments like that interview where he managed uncomfortable questions like that. And I connect with Juanga because of that. I connect with Juanga because of his sense of humor, his ambition, and his resilience. I also respect the way he handled this harassing about like his identity and his sexuality. Also the way he challenged all this macho industry of ranchero songs, like the genre. In 2016, sadly, Juanga died. I was very sad about it, and also was very frustrated because I was in London and not in Mexico, so I couldn't join the other 500,000 people that gather outside Palacio de Bellas Artes in Mexico City for his funeral. But the only thing that I could do was to throw a tribute at the Queen Adelaide, where I played Juanga's songs. Queen Adelaide is a gay bar in Hackney Road in East London. And that night was a night where other Latin American people attended, other queer Latin American attended. Yeah, I felt connected with my friends and my family in Mexico, but also with Mexico as a country, with my roots and with my queer roots. I felt connected with my country, united in grief, but also united in joy of having experienced the influence of this fabulous flamboyant faggot. In 2014, I managed to see Juanga live. And at the end of the concert, there was a slide, like kind of like PowerPoint looking slide with a glitter rose. And you could see the phrase, "Never be afraid of being yourself," which I think it was a perfect way of ending a Juan Gabriel song, a Juan Gabriel concert. Yeah, just to say thank you, Juanga, for those emotional, over-the-top, dramatic, yet fabulous songs.
I feel very uncultured when I say this, but I didn't actually know about Juan Gabriel before Roberto, but he's a proper queer icon. Prepping for this episode, I researched him to see how he felt about love. He once said, and I quote, "I won't completely fall in love again because it is so deceptive. It has left me a bad taste." I relate to that. I wish I could give him a hug. I think we've all been there. When I think about love in music, I think about Beyoncé's album Lemonade. I think about cheating and or being cheated on, the heartbreak, the anger, sitting with that pain. I think about allowing yourself to get to a place of forgiveness. I think about the process of working it out and eventually getting back to a place of love. And then to make an album about it, turning lemons into lemonade. That's some powerful stuff. Some might call it authentic, some might say it's marketing, who knows. Anyway, from Queen Bee to an East London queen himself, this is drag performer Polka Dot.
My name is Robert, my pronouns are he, him, my age is 32, and fun fact, I'm a drag queen.
Robert's done something pretty amazing with Polka Dot and their drag collective, so I asked him to tell me the story.
So my drag name is Polka Dot, and she came to life probably around 2017. It all started in East London, where I live. I went for a drag show. It was called The Shay Shay Show. And what I loved about that show, it was that it was very community-based, very queer, unapologetically queer. And there were drag queens, which I was mesmerized by. I started to experiment. I started to buy heels, some jumpsuits, some wonky eyeshadow on my eyes. And in contrary to what I was expecting, in that space, people were appreciating and people were celebrating me. Each time, even though I was looking like crap, they were saying like, "You look amazing." And I know they were saying that not because I looked objectively nice. It was more to do with like, we love the fact that you put the dress on and you're unapologetically yourself. So that's where I started to, experiment with drag or like maybe gender expression, because I probably wouldn't call it drag on the very beginning, And then fast forward to probably a year after, I really wanted to perform. I was inspired on that show. And a close friend of mine, Tin, said, "Robert, I see that you really want to do it. The best way," he's a singer-songwriter, "is if you lock a date and then there's no turning away from that." So we locked the date at Royal Vauxhall Tavern for an open mic. I've asked my friend to teach me how to do makeup. I bought some weird stuff from Primark and I performed. My first mashup was obviously Britney Spears and Beyoncé, Toxic and Upgrade You. And I was the stewardess. Loving that.
Big news! Boost Mobile is now sending experts nationwide to deliver and set up customers' new phones at home or work.
Wait, we're going on tour?
Not a tour. We're delivering and setting up customers' phones so it's easier to upgrade.
Let's get in the tour bus and hit the road.
No, not a tour bus. It's a regular car we use to deliver and set up customers' phones at home or work.
Are you a groupie on this tour?
We deliver and set up phones. It's not a tour.
Oh, you're definitely a groupie.
Introducing Store to Door. Switch and get a new device with expert setup and delivery wherever you're at.
Delivery available for select devices purchased at boostmobile.com.
I got standing ovation and I loved it. I used to perform in musical theater, so that was something that brought back memories. I guess it was back then 5 years already that I was living in the UK. I kind of forgotten about my creativity, so creating Polka brought that back. Polka not only was my way of expressing my creativity and putting a drag show, but also Polka allowed me to discover more stuff about myself. I now, from a perspective of time, I love that Polka allowed Robert to be who he actually is. Because in drag, for example, I would never even fear to approach the handsomest guy in the club and, ask him for his number. But as Robert, I would never, But then at some point, those lines between Polka and Robert started to blur, and I started to become more unapologetical as Robert, or I would be more fierce and, approach those guys that I like. And I realized that, what? Thank you, Polka. You made me realize that I can be courageous even without drag, because drag is within me anyway. Polka is me. I am Polka, So Polka Dot was performing every now and then in London, and then I created Slav for You, a drag Polish collective. We decided, okay, we're gonna put one off night at the Glory, just an easy one. The capacity is 80 people. If we sell 60 tickets, it will be already a success. Little did I know that we sold out completely. People were calling to the Glory, asking for more, and that was in 2019. And now we are in 2023. We've had around 10 editions already. We've performed at the Glory, where we started, at Clapham Grant. BBC did a documentary about us. We went to Latitude Festival, River Stage, you name it. We've been all over the place, and we have got plans, obviously, to take over the world. You may ask, why did I even create Slav for You? Initially, it was just me having an outlet to showcase Polish culture, show that I am Polish and I'm proud of it. And I live in the UK, and there's a big Polish diaspora. But then with time, I realized that it's not only about me, it's about the community, A profound moment in my time with Slav for You was after one show, a girl approached me. She grabbed my hands and she said, Polka, what you did on that stage was so profound and so amazing that for the first time in my life, I felt that I feel like I'm Poland, but with the difference that here I can hold my girlfriend's hand and no one will punch me in the face, So for those kind of moments, and I've got goosebumps each time that I talk about that, for those kind of moments, I create Slav for You, is to show that you can be Polish, queer, and proud. And it's not only me being on stage, but it's us being a community, being a Polish diaspora in London, not forgetting where we are from, and showing people, because not only Polish people come to the show, but also people that don't speak Polish. They are curious what those Poles are about. I want to know what my cleaner is listening to when she's folding my Egyptian cotton, silk, whatever. I want to know, what are they about? Are they only the cleaners and thieves? No, we are not. We've got vibrant pop culture, which is unfortunately not celebrated from a queer perspective back in Poland. But this is the privilege I have here, that for the first time ever I can step on a stage in drag, sing the biggest ballads of Polish pop culture, and be proud of it.
Massive big up to Robert for creating a community, a collective for drag and Polish culture. This is a massive act of love and I rate it a lot. Because I'm a bit of a nutter, my brain isn't always the kindest to myself, which is weird because I have so much understanding and love for others, but it's like when it comes to myself, my brain is like, sorry friend, we're all out. One time I was really down and I can't remember who it was or what it was, but someone or something was like, You need to define your purpose. It will help you stay guided in life. I sat with it for a few minutes. I opened the notes app in my phone and I wrote down my purpose. My purpose in life is to love and spread love. It's weird as well because it came to me so quickly and clearly. When I feel like shit, I try to remember my purpose, to love and spread love. I'm flawed, I get it wrong sometimes, but still, that's my purpose. And it helps, most of the time. I think this is also what Robert's done. He served the community, creating space for people to spend time together. That's love. Those spaces are vital for us.
Yes, Naya.
One of my favourite queer spaces is UK Black Pride. UK Black Pride was hands down one of the best days I had in 2022. I was with my boys Tokyo and Kamel, and it was beautiful. I did a bit of volunteering, handing out condoms and lube, mostly using this as a chat-up line. It was great. There's something so beautiful about being around so many queer people in one space. I'm really grateful for UK Black Pride, especially coming from Grenada where those spaces just don't exist. I feel massively lucky. And also, just like so many sexy black brothers, what a blessing. You think you're sexy and then you get to Black Pride and it's like, damn. And big up to all my sexy black queer women too. I feel like as queer people, we also have to be intentional about love within our community. We have to take care of each other. Seeing my exes and past situationships at Black Pride, I felt like I had to be intentional about having good interactions. I got the same energy back and none of them moved mad. That's good taste or luck, I guess. Anyway, this brings us to Stanley and José. You heard José hosting episode 1 and Stanley reading his poem in episode 2.
I'm José. I use he and him pronouns. I'm 36 years old. And a fact about me is that I was kind of born old, like I'm an old soul.
Hi, Stanley, he, him pronouns, 32. And the facts about me, I'm a poet and a writer.
Stanley and José both have deep things to say about the links between mental health and sexual well-being, so they got together to have a conversation about it.
Tell me, you said that you worked in sexual health and then you worked in mental health. I'm curious why the two, and if you think there's kind of like a connection between two of those things.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first and the easiest answer, it'll be by chance, really, by kind of like accident. It all happened. Like I ended up working in sexual health because of my own lived experience. So I live with HIV, and that was kind of what I thought, oh, maybe I can work in this. I was a student back then here in the UK, needed like a working visa to be able to stay, and like started applying to things, and it was all random. You've just studied, you don't know what you want to do, or so I was just applying to all these random things like environmental stuff and this and that. And then all of a sudden on Grindr, I saw an opportunity to volunteer on a sexual health organization, and I just contacted them and started volunteering, and that's how it started. And then I ended up like getting a paid job and working there for many years. And then that thing led me to working in sexual health, and doing peer support in sexual health led me to working in mental health. Yeah, and I definitely think there is a connection. There might be many connections, different things, but I think it can be very personal, you know, so it's very hard to talk about because it might be different for you than it is for me. But definitely I can say for me there is a lot of things there to unpack.
Sounds like it, definitely. And I think it's interesting because you said, like, you know, it's I think it's fantastic that you work in mental health, and also you work sexual health, then mental health, but you discussed actually having HIV and then finding that kind of resource on Grindr. How has it been navigating those spaces, being diagnosed, but then also understanding and realizing that, you know, you equals you, and that there is a life outside of a diagnosis of that.
Now, navigating those different spaces has changed with time, and I think partly sort of the outcome of doing that, or I mean, it's hard to explain. It's just the more comfortable I've been on my skin, the easier those spaces have been to navigate. When I was at hardest times or in difficult places, it was harder to navigate those spaces. I mean, there has been stigma and shame and like discrimination and a lot of things. But I mean, these things always affect you, right? Like, even if you think they don't, they somehow can affect you. Yeah, like I feel very steady with where I am, that to not let these things sort of bring me down. So yeah, it might have an impact, but I think I can somehow navigate them, and I can see my feelings around the situation or what happens online or whatever, and to say, okay, this is not me, this is just a situation, and live with that.
How are you able to kind of navigate that? Like, how are you able to get this sense of like this peace and this clarity and this kind of strength? Like, where did that come from?
I mean, I don't know if I don't know if those were.
Well, that's how I see it.
Yeah, exactly.
I see you like that.
I don't know if those will be the words that I describe. Like, it never feels peaceful inside my head. I guess like very few, or it does, but not all the time. So yeah, I think it varies. It depends, and I'm sort of learning to navigate the wave as it comes. And yeah, but how is it for you? I mean, I was just mentioning how personal it can be, that link between your well-being, your mental health, your sexual life. How is it for you? How do you find it?
It's an interesting one because so with my coming out, it was quite tough, and it was like I ended up having to coming out properly twice, but fun, not once but twice. But for me, it was tough because I think like my heritage is Nigerian, and I grew up in a very Christian family, and I still believe in God myself, but to grow up in a very Christian family, to grow up with the church, and even, you know, my dad was a pastor at one point in Nigeria, or here, I don't know, but there was a lot of that, and I think there was a lot of guilt and shame. And so especially like when you're kind of getting older and you realize that actually your feelings for men, and you realize that like, what does this mean? And how am I supposed to say it to the people that I love and who mean the world to me? And I know that they might not deal with it well. And I think for me, it's like, I had friends in school that I told, and they were fine. They were like, oh, I don't care. That's okay that you're my friend. And oh God, that was good. But then, you know, through a series of events when I was 17, basically family found out, and I kind of went back in the closet. And so that was kind of a thing where it's like, okay, like those kind of, I guess, a year and a half, 2 years of being out, well, semi out to some friends, but go back in. And then I went to university and stuff, and it was almost like, you know, through praying the gay away or kind of ignoring those things, like it that's not you, and talking to people and having girlfriends, stuff like that. And it was an interesting time because it was a thing where I realized, okay, like you can have feelings for a physical person, like, but I guess everything changed when I met my first boyfriend. And I think meeting him, and I was a bit older, and that was when I kind of could visualize those words of actually like, no, I'm gay, and this is what I'd say to family. And then still reconciling, I like when the conversation did happen, and it wasn't easy, but I can fundamentally say, as tough as it has been, I'm so glad I did come out. I'm glad that I kind of went through that kind of storm and that kind of really tough time, because I think had I not come out, I wouldn't be able to talk to people about it, or to be comfortable in my skin, or to go on this journey. But it has not been easy. And I definitely can see a lot of kind of with what you've said as well, like kind of dealing with those kind of, you have those days where you feel really strong and really empowered and stuff like that. And it's been years since the second coming out, but it's but yeah, it's almost sometimes there's a consequence. I think in an ideal world, you don't have to come out. You're able to kind of just, you can just exist. But I think for some of us, maybe for a lot of us, there is that thing you need to tell people. You have to come out, and unless it's an unequivocal, I love you, I don't care, it is tough. It is really tough to deal with that. And I'm really fortunate to have an amazing chosen family and a very lovely Greek boyfriend. And but it takes time. It does. And for me, it was counseling and therapy, like undeniably, like that's something that I found really, really useful, because it's like, how do you deal with all these emotions? And sorry, I know I'm talking a lot.
Oh no, that's amazing. I mean, I guess you're making me think of, like, because you were talking about coming out once and coming out twice, and then how often we do this, and how it can become a sort of never-ending process. It's like we're as queer and as gay as I am, and as open as I am, I feel that there's days in my life that I still have to come out again to someone I've just met, to the person, to the woman very confusingly hitting on me on a bar, or things like that, So it's like, does it ever end? Is there a point where we don't have to come out anymore? And then what's sort of the impact of that? Because you're talking about like the positives and the not so easy moments of coming out. I think we learn from both of them, and I think both of them in the long term can be positive, but maybe I shouldn't say this. Like, you know what I mean?
No, I get where you're coming from. I mean, that's something I didn't realize. Like, because technically I came out a bit later, so I'm 32, but I probably was like in my late 20s, and so. Like, I didn't realize it's true. You do have to constantly come out. You're like, even when you meet someone and they say, oh, how's the, have you got a girlfriend? I'm like, well, no, he's not a girlfriend. And then, or like even work colleagues, or like even with like, now it's, like I said, I've got a boyfriend now, but it's like even just saying pronouns, like, oh, I'm with the partner. And it's like, oh, him. In an ideal world, we wouldn't have to. Or if we had to, like, give these kind of constant coming outs, people would just receive them, and it wouldn't, like, most people do not care. Most people have enough things that they're dealing with, they're working with, that they're going on in their lives, that they do not care like what two consenting adults do in their life. But that to me is an ideal world where no one would care, and it would just be like, you can just do your business.
Is there some spaces in which you feel more or less comfortable in your skin, and
there are some spaces where I feel more comfortable than others. I won't deny it. I love being around queer people. I love being around kind of queer, and I use queer because, to encapsulate non-binary or gay or lesbian or trans or anything like that. But it's nice being in those kind of really open, inclusive spaces. And I think when I am in those spaces, I can just relax, and I can kind of like, we can like, be playful and insult each other and whatever. But I've noticed I'm fine in straight places. I don't hate straight people. I must say that. It's an interesting one. I think, especially with PDA, that is definitely something I've realized, because I've had, I'm on my third boyfriend now, which sounds funny, but that's something that I had to navigate, being so closeted and then finally coming out, and then like, oh, how do I deal with this? Like, do I hold his hand? And, and being really aware of kind of people, and are they going to judge us? So I always, for me, it's like a sense of self-protection. Like, I just look around, like, is this a safe space? Yeah, like I definitely found that. But what about you? Like, how have you found, like, do you think there's that link or that sort of thing about safety and being queer or being out or being a migrant and all those things? Like, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I was going to say is, you're quite young. You're doing a good collection of boyfriends, ex-boyfriends in the process. But I'm just gonna leave it at that. Good for you. And then it's interesting because I don't think I ever feel fully safe, and perhaps this has to do with not the safetiness of the environment, but my own sort of personal anxieties or stresses or concerns or whatever it is. But yeah, I think I assess those different spaces as I come into them. Wherever I am, I try to figure out if it feels safe, if it is safe. Of course, there's some spaces that are more welcoming than others, and in which there's very little sort of risk. But yeah, I think the most interesting bit is what you were saying, and yeah, it's like all of a sudden I'm steering this political conversation that which wasn't my intention, and this has happened with exes and with friends, and like, but just saying how I feel about this government or migrants crossing the channel or people experiencing food poverty in one of the wealthiest countries in the world, then of course it becomes political. But I think these are the sort of things that I just care about, and that I'm not gonna sort of stop talking about it because other people find difficult or challenging. And again, I assess the mood of the room and don't bring these conversations in. Yeah, I don't want to be the party pooper, like talking about like food poverty in the middle of the party. But
it's an interesting one. It's almost like you pick your battles, like from the sounds of it. It's like you wanna, like, it's not like you said, like you don't want to be a party pooper, but it's a sense of, okay, is it safe for me to bring up this topic? Is it safe for me to say how I really feel about something? Or do I just quietly sit there and just nod or just remove myself from the environment? It's an interesting one. It's like, I don't know why that is with, I don't know, queer people, migrants, POCs, why there is that kind of need that sometimes you do have to think, okay, safety is important. Am I okay? Like, whether it's kind of mentally or kind of in an emotional state, like, can I really be vocal and honest about how I'm feeling about something? And I don't know why it's like that, but I think things like this are so powerful because I think at least we are able to kind of talk about these really heavy topics, but like we're still able to kind of fight against, like, whether it's a force or those people who say like, oh, don't talk, or just kind of like go back in a box, basically. It's like, no, this is important. So Jose, tell me, what's it like as a new local looking for love in London?
I mean, I think the first thing has been coming to the realization that I'm looking for love, that's what I'm looking for and not just sex. It was hard initially. I could barely communicate, not because I didn't know English, but because there were a lot of cultural sort of references or things that you wouldn't get on the street, on dating apps. Like, you tend to forget that flirting and hitting on people comes with all these codes that are cultural and that you develop in the context in which you are. And I think I was moved from a context in which I was very comfortable with my flirting, my picking up, my style, and then moved into something else and sort of learning what that was like and realizing that people here don't turn around and like, I don't know, all these things about like hitting and picking up online and offline that were very difficult. I don't know, there's been things about sort of, and I've only come to this reflection after 7 years of being here, but like of me relating or distancing from things from my own community. So sort of not trying to date or avoiding dating Latin Americans because what's the point? I don't want to speak in Spanish and things like that. And then soon after realizing like, oh, well, that's quite stupid and maybe I should do more of that. And they get me and we have similar cultural codes and references. And so sort of coming to those realizations, I don't know. I think there's something about like the kind of people I like and how sort of available or unavailable they are in a city like London. So I don't know. I like older guys and so there's a lot of like sexy daddies in London. So it was like, yeah, I felt like at some point I also felt like a kid in a candy shop and like, whoa. And that has come with like its own challenges, I think. Yeah, I came from an environment. I'm not saying a city like Bogota, which is a big capital, a lot of people, doesn't have a massive sex scene. It does, but like I don't know. I just feel that London is like this like super overly sexual city in which sex is available all the time. So I also gone through a process of navigating how much sex is too much sex and learning to set my own boundaries and to not let sort of all the bright flashing lights of the big city sort of blind me. It's been interesting and it's been a challenge but I'm looking forward to more of it and I'm up for it. I'm up for a challenge. So
I'm glad that you're on this journey and that I think, my words, I think that you're very strong and empowered and
thank you.
And I know, I definitely hope that you do find that love you're looking for in London, because I get it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm just gonna live today and like with this idea of hope, and I just think I just have hope that things keep falling into place and you feel more and more comfortable with yourself. Or that's what I hope for myself, at least, and for you.
Thank you.
What is it that Jose says at the end there? I hope things keep falling into place. Yeah, I hope so too, man. Truly. Something that fell into place for me this year, I got diagnosed with ADHD. And it makes a lot of sense. I'm trying to learn how it affects aspects of my life. I'm learning how it affects my relationships. I think about how it affected my last relationship. With ADHD, there can be a time blindness, like how I was late for dates a lot when we first got together. I don't want to blame all my mistakes on ADHD, but it makes a lot of sense now. ADHD is also associated with impulsivity. I think about how I've used sex before as an impulsive distraction. I think about how technology supports impulsive sex, with Twitter, Grindr, the apps. I think about how this affects love. Does it create more opportunities for love, or is it all a distraction? I met my ex on Grindr, and I've made close friends through hooking up. I guess you could say we found love in a hopeless place. Word to Rihanna. When Jose and Stanley spoke about staying focused with goals despite the availability in sex in London, I relate. I gave up porn in 2021, something about trying to increase dopamine. I feel like I lacked decent queer sex education growing up, and I feel like porn is where a lot of us learn, whether that's good or bad. But the habit of watching porn just stays, for however long. I'm not sure if giving up porn has actually helped my ADHD symptoms, but my wanks are significantly more enjoyable. Silver linings. Sex is better too, and better sex equals better love, right? Hearing the stories from Roberto, Robert, Stanley, and Jose reminds me we're all just navigating love at our own pace, trying to make the best of it. But still, as the romantic sign of the zodiac, I have to champion the importance of love. Make time for it. Self-love, platonic love, community love, or romantic love. And if you take one thing from my episode, if you see me on Grindr, show me some love. I'm Chase Edwards. Thank you for listening to my episode of Queer Roots and Roots, stories of where we come from and how we move in the world today. If you're a young person experiencing homelessness of any kind or want to help someone who is, there's a charity called DPOOL. DPOOL offer emergency accommodation through their service called Night Stop. I used Night Stop when I was 17, coming back from Grenada, and I appreciate it a lot. A link to the charity will be shown in the show notes.
Queer Roots and Roots is produced for the Love Tank by Aunt Nell. Produced, edited, and engineered by Tash Walker and Adam Zmith. Assistant producers, Saaqib Afzal, Jose Carlos Mejia, Amardeep Singh Dhillon, Chase Edwards, Stanley Iyanu, and Rad Konieczny. Music by Doi. Creative design and artwork by Richard Kahoji. Recorded at Pirate Studios in Dalston and Hackney, Wick, East London. Executive producers Mark Thompson and Day Taylor Gentles.
The longer you stay alive, the longer you can enjoy Boost Mobile's unlimited plan with a price that never goes up. So here are some tips. Do not parallel park on a cliff if you want to enjoy an unlimited plan with a price that never goes up. Do not mistake a wasp nest for a piñata if you want to enjoy an unlimited plan with a price that never goes up. Do not microwave a hard-boiled egg if you want to enjoy an unlimited plan with the price that never goes up. Stay alive and enjoy unlimited wireless for $25 a month forever with Boost Mobile. After 30 gigs, customers may experience slower speeds. Customers will pay $25 a month as long as they remain active on the Boost Mobile Unlimited plan.